Today's video is sponsored by Raid Shadow Legends. Johnny cakes, flapjacks, hoe cakes, griddle cakes, and crepes. No matter the name, pancakes are an ancient breakfast favorite that traces itself back to humanity's origin and around the world. In today's episode, we explore making from scratch the ancient origin of the dish and compare it to the more modern recipe. What we eat today comes from generations of trial and error, accidental discovery, and an ever-expanding trade. We're exploring the origins and the history of some of our favorite foods of today, as well as the tools were invented along the way to make them. My name is Andy, and this is How to Make Everything. Hold up, have you taken down the Demon Lord yet? Crushed the Ice Golem? Ascended the Doom Tower? What about fighting against millions of real players in the arena? It's time to raid. Explore millions of champion combinations and master countless tactics as you take on raid bosses, dungeon runs, and campaign battles. And there's something awesome happening in Raid right now. They've just released brand new legendary champion designed after a personality in the gaming community, Ninja. Now this champion is a little bit special, not just because he wields both a katana and a bow and arrow, he also comes with a unique origin. Ninja is available for free right now, so everyone can get him, but he's only going to be available until October 15th. He is a super limited edition champion. If that's not enough, Raid's got non-stop schedule for summer events and activities. We're talking special fusion events to get a brand new legendary champion, tournaments against other players, and much more. They've also just released another 5 amazing new champions, and each of them looks incredible. Raid is a lot of fun. It offers a lot of different gameplay opportunities to play it in a lot of different ways. So you don't really get bored of it, and it's a really good way to just kind of fill in any downtime you have. You just pick up the game, play it for a bit. If you want to get a huge head start in Raid, all you have to do is hit the link in the description or scan my QR code and get an epic hero, Nodo, 200 silver, 1 XP boost, 1 energy refill, 1 ancient shard, so you can summon an awesome champion as soon as you get in game. All this treasure will be waiting for you here. These rewards will only be available in the next 30 days for new players, and it's that easy. Just click on the link in the description, and we'll see you in the game. In today's episode, we're exploring what it takes to make the very original form of pancakes from scratch, as well as making the more classic version itself. The earliest form of the pancake traces back to the first forms of bread itself, with unleavened flatbread likely being the first form of bread eaten by humans. Evidence for its earliest record dates back to at least 30,000 years ago, where bread was made from cattails and various plant roots and seeds, which were ground into a pulp, mixed into a paste, and baked on hot rocks by a fire, forming the earliest ancestor of the pancake.
It's bread.
Based on its stomach contents, similar fire-baked flatbread is believed to have been part of Otzi the Iceman's last meal before he died some 5,000 years ago. Since then, many cultures through time have developed their own version of this dish, ranging from savory to sweet. From the ancient Greeks to the Romans, who usually topped it with things like honey, sesame, and cheese. The modern topping to pancakes, maple syrup, was discovered by the indigenous people of North America, draining sap from local maple trees and boiling it down into a sweet syrup. The arrival of Europeans to the continent eventually allowed the old world version of pancakes to meet this now classic topping syrup. But it wasn't until the 1880s that maple syrup became the preferred topping to pancakes. So let's see how far these recipes have come in a mere 30,000 years. First up, gathering the ingredients for the ancient recipe: cattails, lettuce root, parsley root, and rye berries. Alright, so according to some archaeological studies, some of the earliest pancakes were made from cattail root. So, get some cattail. This is part right of the basin and the root. It's very starchy and make a decent bread. That's what we're after. Using the old digging stick from the very first episode of the reset. This is its actual purpose, it's just digging out root crops. To eat my pancakes, I could really use a fork, so let's make one. Then this spring, now owning some land with some maple trees, I forged my own tap to collect some tree sap. It's now early March, which is the perfect time for tapping maple trees to get maple syrup, where it's below freezing at night, and during the day it's just above freezing, around 40 degrees Fahrenheit, and that allows the sap to be flowing back and forth, which creates good flow, so that when you put a hole in it, or tap it, all of the sap will start coming out. It's pretty watered down as actual sap, so then you gotta boil it down into the nice thick syrup that we're used to. So for that, I'm gonna build my own tap, which is basically a tube that you shove into the tree and allows the sap to collect and pour out, and you can collect it into a container below. So basically, I'm just gonna take the scrap piece of metal right here and going to bend it over onto itself to create kind of a tunnel. Then we'll kind of shape it up so it has a bit of a spout to it that we can collect from. Got a rod here we can use to bend it around it and get it into shape. My crude tap was potentially a little damaging to the tree, so for the rest of them I opted for a more modern style to collect the sap. Then this sap needs to go through a long process of slowly boiling it down, removing a large amount of water. The end result being a roughly 40-to-1 ratio, meaning it takes around 5 gallons of sap to make just a pint of syrup. Alright, so we've got a variety of different root crops, most importantly the cattail roots, the rhizome as they're called. So how they know of this actual recipe is by the residue they found on prehistoric grinding stones. So we're gonna basically follow the same process they almost certainly did of taking these roots and grinding them up into basically a flour. We're gonna make it into a flatbread, also known as a pancake. Basically the oldest recipe for pancakes, and we compare it to a more modern recipe, see how things stack up. For the more modern recipe, I previously grew a crop of buckwheat in my garden, mixed with a variety of other grains. Unlike the other grains, buckwheat isn't a grass, and is considered a pseudo-cereal. Originally from China, this crop has spread the world and become a staple in many varieties of pancakes, such as the Russian blini. Buckwheat supposedly helps give the pancakes an earthy, mildly mushroom-like taste. So here we have the two completed pancakes. We have the great-great-great-grandfather of the modern day pancake, a 30,000-year-old recipe. It looks pretty fibrous. A lot of times when survivalists talk about using cattails and making flour from it, they usually soak it and extract the starch from the fiber itself to get a little bit more edible results. But because these were ground with the actual cattails in them, my suspicion is this is how it was likely historically done. They might have strained it that way, but probably would have gotten a better result. But it's also, you'll lose a lot, and 30,000 years ago, you want every calorie you can get. So this is a recipe that was found in the old world. They would not have had maple syrup, but they would have had honey. Don't know if that's what they put on it, but it's a possibility. Then right here we have the modern day pancakes. We got our strawberries, something that didn't exist 30,000 years ago. They are a hybrid that was invented later on. We got our blueberries made with buckwheat and fried up. And then we have the maple syrup made from the trees I tapped in my backyard to put on our modern day pancake. Similar concept. I'm expecting some very different tastes. First up, the 30,000-year-old one. That's a tough cookie. It's actually a lot better than I expected. The honey definitely helps a lot. Probably a lot more bland without it. I've heard cattails compared to corn and cornmeal. Not really detecting that. Yeah, that's surprisingly edible. Very chewy. It's got to spit out the extra stuff, I guess, with the fiber. I don't know if I would call that a pancake, but it's definitely bread-like. And it's like a flatbread, which is what most breads started out as. 30,000 years ago, that's probably a pretty good meal. All right, let's try the modern one. That's a pancake. This turned out really good. I don't know if I've had buckwheat pancakes before, but they're very similar, but they have kind of a slight different flavor that is surprisingly good. So the past 30,000 years has definitely had some improvements to the pancake. Gotta say it's a lot better. This wasn't too bad though. Thank you to all of our supporters on Patreon. Without you, these videos won't be possible. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to subscribe and check out other content we have covering a wide variety of topics. Also, if you've enjoyed these series, consider supporting us on Patreon. We are largely a fan-funded channel and depend on the support of our viewers in order to keep our series going. Thanks for watching.